Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Global Reality. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Wednesday, March 28th, 2018 edition of the broadcast. Back here with you for another show. Thank you yet again for joining me, and we've got quite a bit to talk about and get into on the show here for you today. So thanks so much again to everybody out there for your continued listenership and support. Appreciate everybody being out there. The Monday show, I had recorded a show Monday, and as soon as I was done recording it, my computer did this weird thing I've never seen it do before, and the recording program just basically just deleted the audio file like someone had gained control of my computer and like deleted it. I've never seen anything like this. It was unbelievable. And if you listen to that show, if you haven't listened to the show, go back and listen to it. When you hear what I'm talking about, now it makes total sense. But it was fucking crazy, man. I've never seen anything like this. And I figured out, I think I know what caused a lot of these problems, because, I've been having stuff like this happen to me for years. That's why I've talked about this before. That's why I quit doing, I used to do my show on a Shoutcast stream and have the live stream up and be live, and you could hit the link and you'd listen to me doing it live. Not that the show's any different than it was then, but I still do the same show, but I had to quit doing that. First, I had to quit doing it. Well, I had a set time for a long time. And every single night, everything would work flawlessly until right at showtime, and then the whole thing would just go tits up and quit working. I was on about 3 or 4 different server companies. I got, tons of information from the server companies about denial of service attacks going on my servers. And that would happen all the time. So then I switched and I started having, I'll just do the show at random times, right? Instead of having a set time so they know when to be ready. See, that's one of the things. If you do a show at a set time, they know exactly when you're going on every time, so they know when to be ready to fuck with you. Whereas if you just go randomly, there's less of a chance that they're not ready. They don't know when you're going to go on. So that worked for a while. But I also needed some way to let people know when there was going to be a live show imminent. So I would always play music, just different stuff I liked. And Monday nights we had what we called Metal Moonbat Monday, and so Monday night would be just all like metal, Black Sabbath and fucking Ozzy and Judas Priest, just classic metal and shit like that. So Megadeth, and then I had the Megadeth song Hangar 18 that was always like the 5-minute warning track, right? So you heard Hangar 18 come on, that was the cue that the show was about to be live. So that worked for a while, and then they figured that out. They figured out the Hangar 18 thing. And so the stream would work flawlessly for hours and hours and hours on end with the music playing, and then again, right when we'd start the show, boom, it would go down again. So I went through that for a long while, and then eventually just decided, for a multitude of reasons, that, it was time for me to just start pre-recording the show and not just streaming it live and just uploading it, after the fact. And ever since I started doing that, we haven't had many problems. There's been some, but a lot of the stuff I think, could have been computer problems and whatever else. But so I did the show. Clearly, they're trying to listen in on what I'm doing now before I even do it. Now, I've suspected this for a while, but I've not really talked about it or even come right out and said it here on the show. But after this most recent thing that happened, I'm convinced that now they're, it used to be they would, wait till the show was done or wait before, not let me do it. Now they want to hear what I'm doing, what I'm talking to say before I even talk about it. And, this stuff has gotten a lot better too. I mean, I think a lot of this stuff used to be actual people behind it, but now they've got so much AI stuff and everything. They can do all this stuff without even having to have a person even do it now. But whatever was done last time was done manually. I think I figured out, because I've worked on a lot of stuff after this happened. But anyway, I had to go in. Luckily, I was able to go in. The recording software that I use creates temp files every so many seconds, every so many minutes. And I was able to go into the file system of the software. And of course, you never think to delete those temp files. It was a good thing I didn't in this case, but there was tons of them in there. So I basically had to go through and find all these temporary files and piece them all together, find out which, and kind of manually figure out which ones were for that specific show and not for another show or voiceover thing I've done or whatever, and piece it back together. And luckily, I was able to I burned the midnight oil, man. I stayed up all fucking night and got it done and pieced it back together and salvaged the show, thank goodness. And so it was uploaded yesterday. So that show's kind of the Monday show now has kind of turned into the Monday, the Monday and the Tuesday show, because I literally had to work all night to piece that thing together. And it's up now. So if you didn't hear that show, definitely go and listen to it, because it's clear now that they're listening in. I guess I gave them, when I was doing it live, they could hear what I was talking about in real time. Now they've had to figure out a way to be able to hear what I'm saying while I'm pre-recording this thing. That's how fucking scared they are now. But I did, man. I had to stay up. I burned the midnight oil, man. I was fucking worn out. So there was just no way possible for me to do another show yesterday. So that's kind of the Monday and the Tuesday show. And I want to give people time anyway to listen to that show, because there's some good info in there I think people need to hear. So, but I started thinking about this, and I started noticing, because I'm not the only person that's ever had these problems. I mean, this is another thing. It's just another fucking crazy thing. I don't talk about this much. Every time I go on another radio show, every time, doesn't matter who it is, they get fucked with. Every time. The last round of interviews I did for when the Spellcasters Volume 1 came out, literally every single show I went on and did an interview for, there was one show I was on that was like an hour delay. The show had to be delayed for like an hour, because all of a sudden, as soon as I'm getting ready to go on, they start having problems they've never experienced before. Every single fucking show, man. And so I started thinking about that, and I was like, well, everybody, including myself, you've got I was trying to think of how they were doing this, because I worked in the computer field and stuff before, so I know I'm not a fucking master IT guy, but I know enough to diagnose shit. And what I started thinking about, I started trying to think about what were the commonalities between myself and other people who do these type of radio shows. And the commonality is that no matter who it is, 100% of every fucking body doing a show has got an internet browser up while they're doing this, because we have news stories and stuff, and a lot of people do broadcasts on YouTube, and they do them directed, so that's all done through the browser. You probably got your Gmail account open in a tab like I do. You probably got Facebook or some other social network set open like I do, because you're promoting the show and promoting that and putting links out there. And that's why I started realizing they're doing this shit. That's the only way they can get in, because I've got security and everything on my system. So there's no way they're getting in through that. That's how they're getting in, because they know that's the commonality between that all of us share, is we all have to have browser windows open. So they know when we have they're coming in and doing this through the browser. So for other people out there, for other hosts and something you might want to consider doing is you're having another computer, like a laptop or something, or, a tablet, have something with your browsers on one stuff and have your other computer that just does the recording or whatever, and not have it any browser tabs or Facebooks or anything like that open. Because obviously, even with the newer stuff that's come out, I've never, even from the very beginning, I reluctantly, excuse me, I reluctantly ever even got on social networking to begin with, because I only ever did it just to promote my show and my work and stuff. It's the only reason I ever got on those things. But even the stuff that's coming out now with Facebook, data mining and all this shit. But I'm not really worried about data mining. The thing is, I don't put anything into Facebook that I wouldn't want them to data mine anyway. The problem is with the stuff that they've just now come out with, the new stories that have been coming out, Facebook has been using their app to pull in data and information from other apps on your phone, like your call records and shit. You see what I'm saying? So you can't sit here and tell me for a second, if they have the ability to do that, and they're admitting to it now, that they don't have the same ability to go in and gain control of your computer through these same methods. So, just a heads up, and I don't know, a lot of people probably haven't thought about that, but I think that's 100% what's been going on. And, it's funny, I won't have any shows for weeks and weeks on end that'll have any trolls or haters or anything. I talked about the Richie and Boston thing a few weeks ago, and all the trollage from that. Sure enough, on this particular show, the one that got messed with, the one that had repieced together, got a comment that says, of course, this person has, obviously they're a troll. You can always tell the troll accounts when they have no subscribers, no uploaded content, nothing. It's just like blank page, essentially. And this person said, there's a reason this channel hasn't gone anywhere. The host has major character flaws, period. And this is this was my response. You can see it on the video. I said, LOL, yeah, I'm sure you're just a perfect being who's flawless. Obviously, you're another brainwashed Christian tard from the Richie from Boston channel. I'm real, motherfucker. I give people all of myself, warts and all, not some fake-ass watered-down version. What have you ever done to enlighten people, you troll? Fucking spooks are all the same. You attack me, but you can never bring anything that challenges my info. Stay scared, you fucks. You better be. And that's what I'm saying. They all of a sudden, it's just this show randomly gets attacked. These fuckers are scared because more people have figured this stuff out now. And I've figured more of this stuff out now. Like I talked about in that Monday show. When I first started finding out about the Council for National Policy stuff and doing the Secret Right films, even then I hadn't really even know what I'd really stumbled onto. I really didn't have any idea. I do now. And a lot more people now know about this information than they ever have, and more are finding out about it every day. And once this sort of cycle of these films with the Spellcasters Volume 2, and then next year when I do the ultimate Secret Right film, it's going to make so many connections to things that people haven't seen connections to before, because there's so much of this stuff where even people who are so-called awakened to a lot of this stuff, they just can't still wrap their minds around how everything is really interconnected and how one subject has as much to do with anything as the next. But that's the one thing they try and get you to not understand, so that you get bogged down onto one subject. Man, I saw that pitfall very early on. I saw that back right before I started doing this radio show in 2007. Because back in that time, there was no 9/11 Truth Movement in Dallas, and I helped organize and put together the 9/11 Truth Movement in Dallas, and had a meetup group and everything that we did, and we passed out something like A lot of them were Alex Jones films too, because didn't know better at the time, but not all of them. But we passed out something like it was my idea. I was the first person. No one was doing this until I came up with the idea. My idea was to do truth actions in Dealey Plaza here in Dallas. So that's what we would do. We'd go out with signs, and we passed out like 350,000 DVDs, free DVDs over like 2 years. But then I started to notice that as we have these meetups, everybody would be in tables and everybody would be talking about different things. But I started noticing that the majority of people in this group started to be reluctant to any sort of information that wasn't about 9/11. Like, oh, don't talk about that. It doesn't have anything to do. Well, of course it does. Just because you can't see that it does because you haven't educated yourself to that level yet doesn't mean there isn't connections to something that may seem completely unrelated. I've talked about that many times. It's one of the things everybody's happy to talk about, the trillions that were reported missing from the Pentagon on September 10th, 2001. People are happy to talk about that all day. People are happy to talk about, the gold and the missing gold and all that stuff. They're happy to talk about the melting point of jet fuel in Building 7. But what nobody ever wants to talk about is that you had, the Twin Towers had many nicknames, Jacket and Boaz and Enlil and Enki. And they were these, there was a vault in the World Trade Centers that contained a huge cache of ancient Sumerian artifacts. And they disappeared as well. No one knows what happened to them. Stuff like that. And the next thing you know, 2 years later, we're sold this bullshit lie about, Afghanistan and Iraq, and they hate us for our freedoms. And then what happens? Special Forces in 2003 blows the vault door. They go right past the fakes. They go right past all of the replica artifacts. This is on video. There's film of this. There's film of them going in the vault at the Iraq National Museum and blowing it open, and you can see when they go in, there's these thousands of genie bottles, that have supposedly these ancient demons and spirits that go back to the ancient Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian civilizations. You've got these weird faces, demonic-looking faces that appear in the smoke and the explosions on 9/11. You've got the missing Sumerian artifacts. You've got the destruction of ancient sites relating to this time period. There's all kinds of stuff. So to just focus on Building 7 and all this stuff, I saw that and went, no, that's, that's exactly what they want you to get. That's why all these people man, it happens every time. Every time there's a fucking school shooting, you get somebody who gets on I call it the rat wheel, the hamster wheel. How many fucking school shootings or public shootings, whatever we had, you can't even remember the last one. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point too. On the one hand, they want people to get on these rat wheels and these hamster wheels where they just stay obsessed and locked on one subject. That's what the whole fucking flat earth thing does too. They won't get people locked on these ones, so they just get, and they give enough hints, but not really enough for people to really understand what's going on or have the full truth. And then it just gets people obsessed and they stay focused on one thing. Meanwhile, a million other fucking things are going on while you're focusing on and distracted by this one thing. I haven't talked about this, but it kind of seemed interesting to me that right as soon as new information started coming out about the Las Vegas shooting and real solid information on multiple shooters, what happened then? Boom. We have this, the most recent one. And so all the focus has been gone to that now. And how much more stuff have you seen? Because I look at the news every day. The stuff for the fucking Vegas shooting went poof and be gone out of the media instantly after we had this other one, the I guess in Florida or whatever it was. But that's what I'm saying. They want you to get wrapped up in these things, and then, this other one you were focusing on, well, that gets forgotten about, and it goes back in the background. So that's one of the things that I've continuously seen is that there's a very concerted effort to get people to just stay on this fucking rat wheel, and then they're not progressing or moving forward or anything. But that's typical for these spooks and trolls and whatever have you. You know, they always want to come after me. Oh, the host has major character flaws. Right. And I bet you're just a fucking beacon of fucking purity and perfection. That's how I know this is one of those fucking brainwashed Christian tards, because they're the only fucks that walk around acting high and mighty and judgmental. I mean, isn't part of your fucking religion, judge not, lest ye be judged? You motherfuckers are the most judgmental people ever. Yeah, motherfucker, everybody's got flaws. But I'm not going to fucking act like I'm somebody I'm not, dude. I will never do that. I get up here and I give you the real, warts and all. But again, that's how it always is. That's how these ad hominem attacks always go. They always want to attack me and attack me. Oh, you're a fat fuck. Oh, you've got character flaws. Oh, I don't like your voice. Oh, you cuss a lot. Right. None of those things have anything to do with the information. And that's why we're here. But you notice that that's how you know they're trolls. Because they attack the person, the host, me, whoever, because they can't contest the information. And they know the information is going to be damaging to them. Because like I talked about on that, you know, these fuckers, man, these so-called these fucking brainwashed Christians, they call themselves fucking truth seekers. Give me a fucking break. They're scared because they know they've been hiding behind for many years the fact that their so-called leaders and people they fucking worship are as in on this conspiracy as anybody. That's why nobody wanted to touch my information on the CMP and all that stuff at first, and my information in the priest class and how far it goes back. Because they understand that when the real truth comes out, their people are in the crosshairs too. Religion has, I mean, look, I'm not, you know, you can sit there and be judgmental on me and say whatever you want on me. But the fact of the matter is, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I've done my research. I don't just blindly dismiss religions from the standpoint of some, you know, bullshit where I don't know anything about them. See, that's where you're wrong. That's what you judgmental pricks like to kid yourself into believing. See, I've done the research. I've read all your religious texts. I know more about religions, individual religions. This is no lie, because I've talked to people from just about every religion. I know more about individual religions than the people that are inside of them and are members of them. I know more about Freemasonry than 90% of people who are Masons. That's not my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I've been told that from actual Masons. Okay? So I don't just, you know, blindly dismiss and shit talk whatever religion it may be. But when you study the major world religions and you see where they go back to, and you see that they all are watered down versions of the same thing. Somebody way back when wanted us to have the truth. But that's been so long ago. And power and evil have changed hands so many times over since then, that what we've had for so many years now, we can talk King James Bible, whatever you want to talk about. What we've had for so many years now are these homogenized, watered down, edited versions. Because, again, you've never heard me say, I've even told you, watch my films. There are some things in religions, Christianity included, that are factual. But because they've been edited down and the context has been taken out, that's the key. That's the key of things that we're missing from ancient religious text. Context. But there's no question about it. If you study ancient religious deities and you study, stuff like I have with, going way back, I've read, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. That's one of my biggest, most popular book readings I've ever done. Quetzalcoatl, Thoth, Viracocha, Enki. You had all these different. There's a lot of these different so-called religious people are just different incarnations of the same exact thing, and different cults and religions were built around these different particular deities in whatever part of the world that they originated from. And as I've talked about many times, whatever is in those ancient texts from the ancient Middle East, I'm not talking about the stuff we've seen. I'm talking about the stuff that we've never seen and will probably never see. That's what they're so scared of. Why do you think ISIS is controlled by the Israeli Mossad and all that stuff? I can tell you this, beyond any shadow of a doubt. The phony Rothschild established state of Israel and the entire establishment of Judaic religion does not want people to find out that the whole basis of their religion was stolen hook, line, and sinker, lock, stock, and barrel from the Babylonians. The major foundation, the main foundation of Judaism, ladies and gentlemen, is the Talmud. And most Jews have no idea that the Talmud actually comes from a much older text called the Babylonian Talmud. And that's some dark demon worshiping fucking shit. And I talk about this in Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1, when they came in, the Israelites came in and wiped out the Amorites, the giants, who were left over from that ancient, Sumerian, Babylonian, Akkadian empires, which were also, they were the leftover remnant from the what people call Atlantean civilizations. When the flood happened, that of course covered the rock wall and these other ancient civilizations that existed on the earth for 400,000 years prior to the Great Flood. This is talked about in great detail in the ancient Sumerian king list texts. And like I told you in that Lost Secrets film, the timelines of how old we found out the rock wall are lined up exactly with this time period in which, these ancient rulers set up cities all around the earth. And then, of course, the flood happens, and the survivors of that ended up setting up the first civilizations there in Sumer, Acadia, Babylon. Of course, Christianity, they stole everything of their shit, lock, stock, and barrel from the pagans. And even all the stuff with the crucifixion and the resurrection and all that stuff existed thousands of years previously in Egypt, long before the advent of Christianity. Islam, there's a gang of shit in Islam that's all about, their whole thing is based on, extraterrestrial gods and things of that nature. But of course, that's been edited, cut down. And all of them are there and designed to keep people from ever getting close to the truth. Somebody in the ancient past wanted us to know the power that we have that has been suppressed in us for so long that these abilities very rarely show up anymore. That's why you hear scantly of, certain people having, telepathic powers. And we all have these powers. They're just more pronounced in some people, but in most of us, these things are repressed. Because it doesn't matter what kind of it's just like a talent or something. Somebody can be the greatest painter or the greatest singer or the greatest guitar player, whatever in the world, but if you suppress that talent long enough in someone and it doesn't have an outlet, it's going to cease to be after a while. But it's clear to me after researching ancient religions and more importantly, researching ancient secret societies, going back to the oldest secret societies, as I've talked about in my films, the Brotherhood of the Snake, the original secret societies were set up to provide mankind with a knowledge of who he is and where he comes from and what power that all of us have in ourselves that can be unlocked, that can be used to build for ourselves a greater world. Of course, as always happens, a small group of people innately saw the power that this could have if only a few people had it. And so that's why secret societies and everything eventually became for the negative. I mean, I see people all the time, they think that, they won't look at secret society information or read their books or anything because they think that the information itself is evil. And I've read all their stuff, folks. Never once, even in Freemason stuff, does it ever say anything about doing anything for evil. The only person that ever wrote about that was Albert Pike, talking about worship, Lucifer and all that stuff. But I'm talking about the stuff that goes back to the Babylonian days, the ancient Babylonian mystery religions, the stuff that eventually became Egyptian mystery religions, stuff that the Pythagorean mystery schools. People figured out that you can actually keep humanity in the dark because that's what religions originally were. Religions and what we call secret society information really were one and the same in the far past. But people figured out, the people in charge, the priests, well, as I've talked about many times, who were actually the ones in power, before you had presidents and heads of state and all that stuff, figured out that they could gain power and control people on a larger scale if they gave, the masses, the sheep, limited versions of this information, and to word it in ways that would gain subservience and worship and control versus enlightenment and the full potential of who we are. These spiritual, non-material beings who were trapped in these dense, low vibratory, carbon-based meat suits. But that's what all of that stuff says. If you research all of the ancient civilization information and all of the ancient secret society stuff, it's all about being able to gain control over the spiritual side and physical side, becoming a master of controlling both the spiritual side and the physical side of being, meaning the ability to know and be conscious ahead of time what your next incarnation is going to be. And being able to incarnate at will, and not only be able to incarnate at will, but choose what that next incarnation will be. But talk about a rat wheel. By keeping that information and that knowledge suppressed and keeping it only in the hands of a small amount of people, then they are able to ensure that only a small amount of people reincarnate at will. Don't forget, Christians, reincarnation was another one of the many things that Jesus believed in that was in the original text that got edited out. Again, that's all a part of this. They want the ability to incarnate at will and be able to choose who you incarnate as in your next incarnation and choose whether you come down to the earthly plane or go on to another one, to be in the hands of a small amount of people. That's what's really, truly enabled power to stay in power through the centuries. They keep us on this unenlightened, uninformed rat wheel where we don't know anything about, most people don't learn anything about this. They die, they see the white light thing, they hear all this stuff about go to the white light. Fuck that white light. I said it once, I said it 1,000 times. Fuck that white light. That's what gets you coming back down on the fucking karma wheel again and reincarnates you right back down here on earth in endless suffering in a fucking incarnation not of your choosing, but of their choosing, that keeps their slaves reincarnating and coming back down here to earth and keeps their whole thing in place. True mastery involves being able to master the spirit, the non-material plane, and the physical plane, and having a perfect union and blend of both. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, that's what that was all about. The Egyptian Book of the Dead, all these things. Where you read these texts to these people, next to a dead body for so many days and guide that person through the spirit realm to keep them from coming and back down and reincarnating in this realm again. That's what it's all about, folks. And the Christians and the Muslims and the Jews and whatever other religion you want to name, and the fucking whoever, the Scientologists and the Freemasons, this is what they're fucking counting on you never finding out. And again, this is why they're so against me. I know more. I mean, I've been, this is my life. I don't have any fucking other kind of life. I've dedicated myself to this a long time ago. There's nothing special about me other than the fact that I dedicated my life to this stuff, and that I can say honestly, that's the only reward that I've reaped from all of this is my knowledge. I haven't reaped the financial rewards. I haven't reaped anything else. But God damn it, I can tell you with certainty that I know more about this shit than pretty much anybody. I've never encountered anybody that knows more about this stuff than me. Again, not bragging. It's just because I've done the work and I put in the fucking hours to do it. And this is why the religious guys are so scared. Not only have I exposed who controls politics and who controls all these, the phony truther groups, not only have I exposed all that, but I've also exposed their little spiritual racket too, where they're trying to keep everybody ignorant of the real truth and keep it to themselves. I mean, dude, it's been going on since the dawn of time. It's never changed. The fucking Egyptians told the slaves that the sun was God. Meanwhile, they had their own tri-pantheon of gods, of multiple gods, and a completely separate religion that they worshiped that they didn't allow the slaves to know about. Nothing's changed. They believe that because they came from this pharaonic lineage, that they have the right to have access to information that nobody else does. And the people in charge today come from the same lineage and the same bloodlines and have the same belief. They believe because they come from this bloodline and lineage that you and I don't come from, that they deserve to be able to control their incarnations and constantly incarnate down into someone that's either going to be in in another bloodline family. This is why you've got so much inbreeding going on with the bloodlines within the royal families and all this stuff. It's all about the knowledge and the incarnations. And to be able to control that and control not only someone's current and present destiny, but destinies of what we just see as other humans living for on into the future. I'll tell you this, I'm not coming back to this motherfucker. I'm done. I know for a fact, because of dreams and stuff, memories I have from when I was really young. I mean, I know for a fact I've been here before. There's no question about it. I believe I've been here on this planet multiple times. And I didn't figure out all the things that I figured out now in my previous incarnations. And I figured it out. Now, I ain't coming back. I ain't coming back here. I'm going somewhere else. But before I go, I'm going to fucking put the goddamn wrench in the works for the rest of these fucks. I ain't coming down here again. But before I go, I'm going to let everybody know what the scam is. That's what I came here. That's what I was put on earth to do. This is not fucking shits and giggles, fun bullshit for me, folks. This is my life. This is my destiny. This is what I was put here to do. And I'm going to do it. And none of these fucks are going to stop me. But again, that's why we got to have your support. We got to have people donating, contributing. This is our fundraising week, so we got to have operating costs in here. Don't wait till the last minute. Let's go ahead and get them in there now. As I talked about on the Monday show, we got a lot of great perks and stuff going on. You want to get that unlimited download deal, get your name in the film, $300. We got all kinds of perks up there on the campaign page, so please go and definitely check that out. And also, be sure, as usual, go and check out our the download page and shop as well and get yourself some downloads. You definitely want to see Spellcasters 1.5, Volume 1, 1.5, and listen to the Covert War and Rock audiobook before that movie's out. I'm hoping to have it done in the next month. Still need to get $100 in here if somebody wants to contribute, but right now we really just need to reach our 100% of our operating cost goal no later than Monday. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap it up there. I appreciate every single one of you. I'll be back here with you tomorrow for another show. TheGlobalReality.com. I love you guys. Take care.